Hi, I'm Gary. Today I'm looking at another vintage kit. This is the Armstrong Whitworth Whitley bomber in 1/72 scale from FROG. This was released in 1976. It was the second release of the kit, first made in 1972. Now, if you enjoy the show, and I hope you do, then please remember to let YouTube know for free by giving it the old Imperial thumbs up, by subscribing to the channel, and by hitting the notification bell. Why not leave a comment as well to let me know what you think of this old kit. So let's make a start by looking at the box the kit was originally sold in. So here's the box of the FROG 1/72 scale, as it says there, Whitley long range bomber. Kind of nice piece of box art here actually of a Whitley in action against a U-boat. I think they sank one or made one surrender or something. I think it sank one. Yeah, it's a nice box art. This is, in fact, is a scheme I'm going to go for because I really like Coastal Command. The white with the EDSG and dark slate camo on the top, but mainly white, and all the aerials and stuff like that. It's definitely the one I want to go for. On this side here, there's some adverts for other kits in the range. HMS Exeter, the Phantom F4K&M, the British version of the Phantom with the Spey engines, and the Harrier Mark 1. This is 1976, so maybe the GR3 hadn't been created by this point. This is the Mark 1. On this side, we have some tips in various languages. On the short side here is more adverts. The one here, the Javelin FAW 9 and the HMS Royal Sovereign. And on the other end, indeed, the Buccaneer Mark 2 and the Lightning F6, so plenty of advertising for other kits in the range. On the bottom of the box are the scheme layouts. So this is the one I'm going to be doing. It's Echo Bravo 3902 from Coastal Command, the first radar-equipped Whitley squadron to sink a U-boat. And here is a Whitley Mark 5, the regular bomber version from 1940, as flown by a certain pilot officer G. Leonard Cheshire, later group captain Cheshire, VCDSO and DFC, one of the finest bomber commanding pilots in RAF history. And as a reminder here, the kit requires cement and paint. Well, yeah, it does. Here it says made in England by Rovex Models and Hobbies. Kind of interesting. So there we go. That's what we'll be doing. Why don't we have a look and see what we got inside the box for our money back in the day. So here we have, it's a flip top box. Slightly worse for wear, but it is quite old. It is, yeah, just under 50 years old, this kit. So this is a 1976 one. As I say, it was released a few years ago, about 72 I think it was released. Anyway, we get an instruction sheet. We get bits of plastic, lots and lots of bits of plastic. We do get a decal sheet as well, which is looking a little worse for wear, crumply and whatever. But we'll have a look at all these bits in a bit more detail. The first couple of frames are the fuselage halves. I guess these are maybe the horizontal stabilizers. This is a fin here. That might be a spar. Main wheels. One of the undercarriage legs. Excuse me. And one half wing and one half bottom wing. They're opposite sides. So that's the starboard wing. That's the port underside wing. Oh, and this a stand, of course. The other two frames included are the other parts of the wings, of course. The top surfaces of the horizontal stabilizers. Interestingly, did we? Yes, we did have the bottom halves of both. I was just double checking. We have the engines. We have the gears open. It's pre-molded open or pre-molded closed. We have the crew figures, undercarriage, propellers either side, more bits of the engines here. These are the radio aerials here and here. The cockpit, a crew member, presumably a bomb aimer, somewhat crudely formed. So yeah, all the other bits and pieces needed to make the kit, obviously. Then there are the clear parts. These are for the obviously the cockpit and windshield here, bomb aimer's position, front turret, rear turret, some nav windows, and presumably a sighting window up in the side there for the navigator to use. We have a close look at the plastic. It's interesting because these lines here are actually inscribed, whereas these are raised. That's inscribed. That's raised. I think. Although, no, that might be. No, that might. Do you know what? That might be inscribed as well. I might just work on those just a bit, just bring them out a little bit. But anyway, the panel lines are here. They're fairly basic, but do you know what? They're as good as you were going to get in 1976, I suspect, from a British company. Now, the big thing here is the flash. Like this is all flash. Look at it. Here and here. All the way around these components. And if we look at the crew figures here, first of all, the crew figures are not bad. If you look at the moulding on the face, it's actually pretty good. I've seen Airfix kits of that age much, much worse. But look, just surrounded by this halo of flash, which is going to have to be cleaned off. And it's funny that other part of the mould, nothing at all. So it's something to do with the pressure distribution over the mould that's done this. But hey ho, it's not the end of the world. Again, we look at the top surface of the wing. It's had a little bit of damage in the box all over the years, but yeah, you can just sand that down with some, I don't know, 800, 12, maybe 1200 grit paper, and that'll disappear without damaging these quite fine marks. You can see here they've gone over the edges with the scribing, so I might have to do something about that. But again, huge amounts of flash around some of these parts. And down here, conversely, we have the bomb aimer, massive hole in the back, sink, short shot. The cockpit looks basic. I might put a few. If I put the crew figure in, I'll put some straps on them. But again, if we can get that to focus, the face of the bomb aimer isn't too terrible. At this scale, and with a little bit of work, that actually wouldn't look too bad. But it is quite shocking for the rest of the kit. The decal sheet is here. Now, to be honest, given it's almost 50 years old, the sheet isn't that bad. It's not yellowed around the edges here of the carrier film. Haven't yellowed really much at all. The main problem is they're cracked very severely from being sort of curled up and gone dry over the years. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge to do anything with. So I'll just get another set of decals, and it might be a slightly different aircraft to the one in the kit. It might not be. But there'll be modern decals to make it look even better. There is an instruction leaflet. When I say leaflet, I mean actually single page. This is the whole instruction set for the aircraft. So we'll build the cockpit first, pilot and navigator. Then for some reason the engine, nacelles. Then we build the undercarriage if it's open. Then we build the rear turret. Interesting sort of order of things. Then we put the whole fuselage together. So we put the cockpit in, we put the bomb aimer lying down in there. We put the transparencies in as well, the instrument panel. We put a kind of like a a spar in there, I guess. And put the rear gunner in as well. If we want to cut a hole out for the stand, we better do that there. Then on the wings, if you want to do the, in fact, that's the Mark 7. That says the Mark 7. Oh, it is the Mark 7, isn't it? The maritime one, which I'm doing, is the Mark 7. You make sure you drill out the holes for the aerials. Likewise, on the back, you need the holes for the aerials. Now, what I would do is mark out on both sides where these aerials should go, then do your seam filling, and then just drill in where they should go afterwards, right? Because if you drill them in then you won't be able to fill the seams if there's any seam action that needs doing, which there probably will be. Although I might be disparaging a very, very fine kit, I don't know. So anyway, the wings, before the wings go together, you drill out the holes for the wing aerials. Then you put either the undercarriage down or the closed doors into place, and then pop the engine nacelle on the front. I'm presuming they're the same left to right. And then finish it off. You put the two halves of the horizontal stabilizer together. They go into the fuselage. The fins go on top of them, and there's little bracing parts here that go on. All the aerials you need, the transparencies, more aerials and tail wheel, and of course you put a gun through the forward turret, put the forward turret in as well, and that's it. That's the whole thing. What other instructions are there, I hear you ask? None at all. That's it. That's the whole kit and indeed caboodle. Just an interesting aside here for the moment. You'll see, as I mentioned, this FROG kit was made by a company called Rovex. And if you look here, so Westwood, Margate in Kent, England. Westwood Industrial Estate is where Ethics are based, in Margate now, where Hornby Hobbies indeed is based. So I wonder if Hornby Hobbies at one time either bought out Rovex or moved into their former premises. Just out of curiosity, but it's exactly the same place. So there it is. For something almost 50 years old, it isn't all that bad. Yes, the moulding is basic, but it looks like it will go together well enough. Yes, there's a lot of flash in some places, but I'd always rather have flash than a short shot any day of the week. The parts are there for the Maritime Patrol version and a scheme I like, so what's not to love about another trip down memory lane? I'll have fun making this kit, I know, and at the end of the day, that's the whole point of this. If you had fun watching the video, then please do let YouTube know by giving it the imperial thumbs up, by subscribing and by hitting the notification bell. Thanks so much for watching today, and goodbye.